kitchen greeted me with silence and the smell of someone else's perfume. Not ours. Thin, sweet, with a cold trail of citrus. There were 2 cups on the table. My mug is chipped. I know every scratch. Here are 2 whole, clean ones. Whoever washed, washed quickly. Haste always leaves small evidence. Under the chair is a silk scarf, not hers. My wife wears wool and linen. Silk is for a holiday, and it's not that kind of tone. I leaned over, not touching it with my hands, and saw the edge with a broken thread. There was a trace of lipstick on it, a color she doesn't like, too bright. I didn't say anything. I turned off the light. Her footsteps were in the hallway. She appeared in the doorway wearing a t-shirt I bought last year. Her hair was pulled back somehow. Her face was calm. That's the look news anchors get when a director is yelling in their ear. "You're early," she said. "The work was canceled," I replied. "Who was coming?" She paused for exactly half a breath. "Courier." I picked up the package. 2 cups? I made coffee and changed my mind. I spilled one, drank the other. "And the scarf?" "Mine. It is silk." "And what? You don't wear silk." She looked down. She crossed her arms. She smiled, nervously. I said nothing more. I walked past her, went into the bedroom, opened the window to let the smell out. It lingered longer than it should have. At 10, I was in the car. The valet waved me off, as usual. Habits are evidence, too. I turned off the music. I turned on the recording on my phone. Last night, I set up a cheap camera in the hallway. A simple thing that picks up movement. I'm not paranoid. I just didn't want to take anyone's word for it anymore. The video began with me leaving at 7. Then silence. The door, 8:41 p.m. She enters quickly, like a person who is freezing. She pauses for a second, as if waiting for someone. And he enters after her. Her face is not visible, her cap is low, her mask, but her posture is immediately recognizable. Her back is straight. Her hand opens the door without hesitation, as if at home. He doesn't take off his shoes. She takes them off. She leans in, whispers something. They walk past the camera. On his wrist, I see a watch, a buckle with a characteristic bend. I've seen one like that before. I stop. I rewind, frame by frame. 9:17 p.m. They leave together. She is the first. He is the second. Around her neck is a thin chain. It wasn't there yesterday. There are no faces. Like in a poorly shot privacy ad. Just outlines. But that's enough. I saved the video, named it Corridor 2117 MP4, and uploaded it to the cloud. Then I called my friend, Yar. "Can you come today?" he asked without greeting. "If not a corpse, then after dinner." "Not a corpse." "Then in an hour." Yar used to work in the bank security service. Now he works in a private company. He doesn't like to ask why. I don't like to explain why. That's why we got along. 11:20. I came home with 2 packages of groceries I hadn't planned to buy. It took a while. She was sitting at her laptop in the kitchen. The screen was blank, the browser open to a recipe page. When I came in, she pretended to be reading. "Why did you buy so much milk?" she asked. Action. That was true, but not the reason. "I'll be late tonight," she added. "We have an audit." "Okay." "Are you angry?" "No." We spoke as people speak, who have long since decided not to speak truly. In the parking lot near our house, Yar was smoking in his car. The window was open. The smoke was drifting in the air. He shook my hand, briefly, like a doctor, asking me to come back in a week. "Come on," he said. "What do we have?" I handed him the phone. He watched the video twice, silently, then switched to the camera, zoomed in on the fragment with the clock. This is a Mont Blanc, limited edition 3 years ago. The buckle is broken characteristically. The owner cut it himself. Service doesn't do that, which means the strap was changed in the garage. Who needs it? There's one in our office, the head of the purchasing department. He showed everyone when he bought it, then quietly stopped. Name? Ilya. Last name, I said. Yar wrote it down in his notes. What do you want? To find, to confirm, to break. Confirm. Legal or fast? Quickly. Okay. He took a small bag of black boxes from the glove compartment. AirTag, he said. You don't like apples, but you can ignore this one. Where to? Her car, and his if we find him. We will do it. How much? Then. I didn't bargain. She left at 6:03 p.m. Yar was following her 3 blocks behind. I sat next to her and looked at the dot on the screen. Now, we didn't track her phone, but we did track her car. The dot didn't lie. She didn't go to the office. In the shopping mall on the other side of the city. Parked. 6:37 p.m. 7 minutes later, a gray car pulled up to the same entrance. Make? Kia. License plate, covered in dirt. A man in a hood came out of there. He walked easily, quickly. His shoulders were straight. I saw the gesture I always see in him. Before entering, he straightens his left sleeve, as if something is pressing there. There, a watch. Shall we take it? Yar asked. No, let's see. They left, 40 minutes later, without their bags. Their faces are still invisible. They didn't touch each other. But the distance between them was like that between people who already know each other's bodies by touch. They got into different cars and drove in the same direction. Hotel, said Yar. 10 minutes. Couples always do that. Not straight away, in a loop, to feel cautious. He turned out to be right. Viola, 3-star, without pathos, with an inconspicuous entrance into the courtyard. The parking lot is closed. We waited outside. 5 minutes later, they appeared on the restaurant terrace. They were sitting opposite. She was laughing quietly. He leaned forward, like a man who doesn't want to miss a single word. I looked at them and felt some old mechanism working in my chest. Click, 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 click. With my soul. With my nerves. Yar took a few photos with his phone, not getting close. Then, they went inside. At the reception, a short conversation. Female laughter, keys, elevator. The doors closed. Do you hear? Said Yar. I can punch the number, but that's a different price. We do. He disappeared through the door disguised as someone looking for a toilet. He returned 7 minutes later. 4:12. In the name of Polyakova. Hour of payment. Cash. She always says she doesn't carry cash, I replied. He is wearing it today. Knight found me in the car in front of the hotel. Yar went to clean up my mess. I knew what that meant. Keep copies. Delete metadata. Don't shine around the house. I sat and thought not about them, but about what would happen after. There are things that make you different. Not better. Just different. At 8:59 p.m. they left. One by one. She was earlier. He was later. She turned around as she walked, without raising her head in any way. Her shoulders were relaxed. Her face was ordinary. In her hands was the same chain that had been around her neck this morning. The phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. If you want to understand, don't shout today. Let me talk. And Ilya, obviously. I didn't answer. A minute later, a second one came. It's not what you think. Everything is more complicated. These phrases are always the same. Not that. More complicated. More complicated for whom? I got out of the car. I approached her as she opened the car door. She was scared, jumped back a step, and then recognized me. She made the movement she does when she's guilty. Her lower lip trembles slightly. Her eyes search for a way out. "Go home," I said. "We'll talk." "Were you here?" "Yes." "Listen. At home." I left without looking at her. I knew that if I started now, the words would be wrong, and then there would be no way to fix it. The apartment was cold. She came in 20 minutes later. She sat on the edge of a chair. Her hands were on her knees. Her fingers were white. "Okay," she said. "I'll tell you." "Just a minute," I replied. I took her spare phone out of the drawer. Old, but working. I put it on the table. I took out my own. "No recordings, no recorders. Speak." She nodded. "It started 3 months ago. I went to meet a client. He was there. We had coffee. She stopped. "You know how it goes." "I don't know. Tell me." "He paid attention. Compliments. I felt alive." "And?" "Nothing. Then nothing. Then he wrote?" I replied. "I thought it was just a conversation. Then a meeting. Then another one." "How many times have you been with him?" "3 times." I looked her in the eye. She didn't look away. It was honest. Or rather, very comfortable. "Why cash today?" "So that," she swallowed, "so that nothing shines." He asked. "Yes." "Why?" "He says he is being led." "Who?" "I don't know." "Aren't you interested?" It was, but he was nervous. He said he was getting into trouble. "In what?" "Some tenders. Documents." I didn't delve into it. "Then why did you go into room 412? She pursed her lips. "I didn't answer the phone. He did." "On you?" "Yes." "Why?" "He said it was safer that way." "For whom?" She was silent. "Okay," I said. "Go on. That's it. That's all." "Not all of them. Who wrote to you a minute ago?" She shuddered. The phone was on the table. Silent. Vibration off. It didn't take her long to realize that I knew. "He," she whispered, "asked you not to scream." "Would you scream?" "I don't know how to speak correctly." "You know." A pause. She looked out the window, where our kitchen light was reflected, and said, "I broke up with him." "Today?" "Until today." "Did you say goodbye at the hotel?" "Yes." "Hugs?" "No." "By account?" She couldn't stand it, and closed her eyes. "Didn't you make mistakes?" she whispered. "I did. But not like this." "And which ones?" "Those that hurt me, not us." I thought. She took a breath, gathered herself. "I thought you didn't see me. We live next door, but you're always at work. Everything is fine with us, but it's like it's on a list. I wanted to feel that I'm not an item in your document." "And did you feel it?" "For an hour. And then, shame for a week. Another hour. More shame. It's like an addiction." I felt sick. I didn't recognize myself. I wanted to tell you, but then she stopped. "Then my brother disappeared." I raised my head. "What?" "I didn't say anything. I was ashamed. We argued. He asked for money. I refused. And 2 days later, he was gone. The police said, 'Wait.' I waited. And Ilya." She clenched her fingers, her nails digging into her skin. "Ilya said he could help, that he had people. I agreed to meet. And then, calls, news, traces. And everything went somewhere where I no longer understood what was more important." "Were you with him to find your brother?" "At first, yes. Then I was stupid." I stood up. I walked to the window. I looked down. The yard was as empty as a letter before the first line. "If he's caught on," I said, "then your name on the number is a noose. Not for him. For you." I know. And now, he has to give me something. What? A flash drive. It has correspondence with his superiors. And photos. The ones that prove he wasn't working alone. I thought, if everything goes well, I'll give it to the police, and they'll drop the charges against me as a witness. I didn't think it was that scary. When is the flash drive? Tomorrow, at the warehouse by the river. 1:30 p.m. I didn't want to go. You won't go. But if... She met my gaze for a second. If it has to do with my brother, You're not leaving, I repeated. Then he'll take it all out on me. He's already drained. Number cash, cameras in the lobby. He's not stupid. What are we doing? We? I smiled for the first time that evening. We stick to the facts. I sat down, opened my laptop, and went into my email archive. 2 months ago, I received one sentence from a stranger. Your wife will be used as bait. Then I decided it was spam. Back then, I still believed in coincidence. Now I don't. I dialed Yar. Briefly. Composition. 1:30 p.m. Flash drive. Possible discharge. Names. He listened without emotion. Wear dark clothes, he said. Phones are on airplane mode 2 blocks away. Car's different. Get there early. Don't be the first to arrive. Wait for the signal. Which one? As always, twice with headlights. And if it doesn't happen? Then don't come at all. I hung up the phone. She was sitting opposite me, her eyes fixed on me. If you want me to leave, she said quietly, tell me. I'll pack my things today. If I wanted you to leave, I would have already opened the door. Do you hate me? Hate is also attention. I'm tired. A second. 2. 5. Give me a chance, she whispered. I didn't answer. And not because I didn't know. Because tomorrow is the warehouse. 1:30 p.m. And the answers given before that will not be about that. I woke up at 4:17 alone, as if someone had called me. On my phone, there was a new message from the same unknown number. You don't understand. She's in danger. If you come, you'll break everything. I looked at the screen and felt my inner mechanism click again. Fear is not for me. But there are words that trigger instincts. I didn't answer. Instead, I opened a folder with the erroneous name Taxes 2023. There were copies of contracts from her work, travel schedules, merged through acquaintances. The dates overlapped with the days when the courier, friend, was delayed. I plotted them on one line. It turned out a pattern. Patterns are always true. At 6:02, I was in the gym, where I never spoke to anyone. I didn't pump my biceps. I was timing myself. 2 minutes to warm up, 10 on the treadmill, 15 to stretch. While I counted, something else was filling my head. The route, the entrance, the emergency exit, the camera in the truck across the street. The warehouse by the river is always the same architecture. A security booth, a gate, a ramp, 2 rows of racks, a blank wall with cart marks. There is a shadow. There is always someone standing in the shadow. At 8:11 I came back. She was making coffee. She put a cup in front of me and said, I'm going to my mother's for an hour. She didn't sleep well. Okay, I replied. But first here. I put a small keychain on the table. AirTag. She looked at it like it was a grenade. Are you serious? Yes. You don't trust me. I trust the facts. I am not a toy. Exactly. That's why I won't lose it. She sighed. Okay. But you understand, if Ilya finds out, he'll find out later. Are you sure? Yes. She hid the key ring in her bag. She turned to the mirror. She looked at herself longer than usual. There were no tears in her eyes, only fatigue. "If we get through this," she said, not taking her eyes off her reflection, "I will do everything to make you trust me again. Everything. We'll see." She left. Yar called at 11:03. "Two pieces of news," he said. "Bad and worse. Start with the bad. The Kia he drives isn't his. It's registered to a cover company. The director is a pensioner who doesn't know he's a director. Worse? Last night at the Viola Hotel, someone pulled out the check-in log. The video from the cameras was given for service. Officially, for verification. Unofficially, I know who. To whom? A person who works for the one who stands above Elijah. Name? Not yet. What are we doing? We don't act heroic at the warehouse. If you see strangers, you leave. You don't pretend. You just leave. Of course. And another thing. Your wife wasn't the only one with him yesterday. They were seeing a third person. A woman. Blonde hair, short stature, a voice like a teacher's. She brought an envelope. Your wife didn't take it. He took it. Did you see that? On the recording from the restaurant. I got a copy. It's noisy, but I can hear two words. Checklist and package. I think it's cargo. Cargo? Black. Customs. The schemes are old, but they work. And my brother? I asked unexpectedly. If this is somehow connected. If your brother disappeared where the packages are moving, he paused for a second. Then we don't need a warehouse, we need the shore, and not during the day. Why? Because during the day the ships are stationary, and at night they are leaving. I felt my fingers getting cold. I don't like guessing. I like coordinates. See you in an hour, he said. There. At 12:41 we were already sitting in a Ford with tinted windows under the bridge, 2 stops from the warehouse. The wind from the river was wet, like freshly washed tiles. Yar showed the plan. The warehouse layout, camera marks, inspection sector. Here is this dead zone, he pointed. This is where we stand. Here is the ramp. Here is the entrance for strangers. If he wants to hand over the flash drive without witnesses, he will stand with his back to the wall and his face to the ramp. This is the pose of people who are afraid of a shot from the left. Are you thinking about the shots? I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. I looked at the screen. Their dot was moving correctly. It was approaching the warehouse from the street on the riverside. We left its car in another block. From there, it walked. The ravine intercepted the traffic of the cameras in the neighboring buildings. The picture was jumping, but it stuck in my brain exactly. He's already there, said Yar. He arrived in a Kia, put it in the back light. No license plate on the front. Hands in his pockets. Signal? Wait. 2 flashes of headlights. Then 2 more. I was already reaching for the door handle, but Yar held it. It's not me, he whispered. Wait for mine. I gritted my teeth. The seconds dragged on like rubber. And then our Ford blinked twice. I got out. I didn't walk straight, but in an arc, holding on to the wall as I had been taught. The cold under my shirt pressed against my back. She was already standing in the corner of the warehouse yard, without her bag. Her hair was tied up. Her shoulders were hard. He was opposite her. In his hands was a small metal object, a flash drive. I came closer. He raised his head. There was no mask, just the same back and eyes that are not afraid. He looked me straight in the face and smiled, calmly, like a chess player who has already calculated 2 moves ahead. You're on time, he said. Give me the flash drive, I replied. She is not yours. She's not yours either. But she's the one who's causing you problems, he nodded at my wife. All the cameras in the Viola lobby see what they need. And what they need is her number. You destroy everything on the flash drive and we're even. You take yours, I take mine, and everyone moves on. I don't bargain. No way. He took a step forward. At that moment, I saw movement from the left. A short woman with blonde hair, a teacher voice, Yar was not mistaken, appeared from behind the ramp. In her hands was an envelope. She said only 2 words. These are copies. He turned around abruptly. His eyes narrowed. The smile disappeared. What are you doing? He growled. We agreed. You made a deal with yourself, she answered calmly and looked at me. If you want to find your brother, she added quietly, don't take what he gives you. There's someone else's key there. Yours won't open the door. Where are you from? I started, but didn't have time. A switch clicked on the security booth. The yard was plunged into shadow. The air smelled of metal and rain that hadn't started yet. Behind Ilya, the gate opened. 2 men entered the shadow. One was tall, wearing a jacket with the emblem of the security company. The other was massive, with precise movements. The tall one said briefly, "Hands." We picked it up. He approached Ilya, whispered something in his ear. Ilya blinked as if from a bright light and handed the flash drive to the tall man. He put it in his pocket and looked at my wife. Ms. Polyakova? He asked evenly. Yes, she replied. Please come with us. On what grounds? I managed. Who are you? He showed me his ID. Real, not a fake one from a kiosk. Department of Homeland Security. Temporary survey. I took a step forward, but I felt Yar's hand on my shoulder. He whispered, his lips still. Not now. I took a breath. I stopped. The tall one nodded to the other, who opened the door of the black car. My wife looked at me and said quietly, Everything is fine. Don't believe it, the blonde whispered to me. It's part of the checklist. Where is my brother? He blurted out. She met my gaze, and this time there was something akin to regret in her eyes. If he's where we think he is, she said, he's not on the shore. Where? In the cargo. Which one? Humanitarian. The gate closed. The car moved. The yard was again plunged into shadow. Ilya stood with his hands in his pockets, smiling again. He liked how everything was going according to plan. I didn't. Yar pulled me back to the Ford. We got in. I slammed the door harder than I should have. For a second, the cabin was completely silent. Silence is the sound before a decision. What now? I asked. Yar started the engine without looking at me. Now you will stop playing husband and wife. Now only work. We take copies from the teacher. We look for the humanities along the route. We understand who took the magazine from the hotel. And we tear off their checklist. And she? If we're lucky, we'll get out in 3 hours. If not, we'll see in the report. I don't need to. Let's see. Then keep a cool head. He turned on the radio. The channel was closed. The blonde's voice boomed through the speaker. I have 2 flash drives. One is empty. The other is with meat. On the empty one is the key that will be given to yours. On the full one is the humanitarian woman's route, dates, amounts, and a list of those who lead. Where is the meeting? Yar asked. Not here. Down under the bridge, where it's dark. After how long? In 10. I looked at the clock. 1:42 p.m. Click, click. The mechanism was working. Let's go, I said. We set off. On the coordinates screen, I saw the dot marking her AirTag bag remain in the warehouse yard. Standing, not moving, like a stone. And at that moment I received a new message from the same number. If you want to take her alive, don't trust the woman under the bridge. She works for the same people. And I showed it to Yar. He smiled with the corner of his lips. There we have it, he said. 3 truths. Yours, his, and hers. And between them is what really happened. And what? Choose who to lie to first. The bridge was approaching. The water beneath it was dark, like a strange secret. It was damp under the bridge and smelled of rust. The water made a noise like large machinery in a nearby workshop. The blonde stood where the lamp above the bank had long since burned out. Her face was a bright spot. The rest was a shadow. Time, she said. I have exactly 2 minutes. Names, routes, where she's being held, I replied. No preludes. Okay. She took out 2 identical flash drives. She put them on a concrete pedestal. One is empty. It has a fake key. The second is full. On it, the batch code, G47, the truck route, UA56, PL, the date of shipment, today, 2330, ramp number 6, Pivdeni berth. And 3 surnames. One of them above Ilya. 2 above the one who took the magazine at the hotel. Why us? Asked Yar. Why are you suddenly good? I'm not good, I'm tired. And I'm also insuring myself. If they take me away, it has to go somewhere. And her? I pointed my finger towards the warehouse, although it was not visible from here. They don't take wives if they don't have to. They keep her for pressure. They'll let her go when you sign the key. So an empty flash drive is a trap, Yar concluded. Yes, the key leads nowhere. But the log shows who opened it. They need your fingerprints. Digital ones. Then they can write off the leak on you. Are they sure I'll behave? I asked. They are sure that you love. She looked straight at him. And love is an instruction manual without a caution section. Who are you? I took half a step closer. A person from the list. No number yet. Why is your voice like a teacher's? Yar asked, as if in passing. Because I know how to say sit, so that they sit down. Where is my brother? I couldn't help myself. If the line UA56PL is what I think it is, she said slowly, look for the container HMRU 8342163. It has been walking outside the register for a long time. If it is there, it has 48 hours. Then, the C. Why do you know the number? Because I wrote it. Who do you work for? On myself. Starting today. She reached out to take one of the flash drives back. I covered both with my palm. Leave it. My voice was even. Go on. Next, a checklist, she said. They always work according to 1. Contact, fixation, binding, requirement, verification, signature, release. You are now between requirement and verification. Next, signature. If you sign, they will release her, but they will not release you. Where is she? Again. In the transportation, in the security area. Not in the cell, so as not to have to register. Just for coffee. Last names, said Yar. She took out a piece of paper folded in half and placed it next to the flash drives. Rows of 3 letters and numbers, short names, a firm pen. The first line is their roof, the second is the operator's, the third is your Ilya and his shadow. The shadow is the one who takes the magazines and returns the cameras. Contacts? On a flash drive, full. And one last thing. She glanced at her watch. If the G47 leaves at 11:30 p.m. today, you won't find anything tomorrow. They've learned to work without a trace. You'll either have to tear up the shipment or replace the contents. Replace with what? For air. She smiled faintly. But it's better to tear it off. Why are you helping? I took the second step. Because last night I said no, and they said, "You're a number." I'm not a number. And also, Yar narrowed his eyes, they wrote to us that you work for them. I know. They write to everyone. This is also a checklist item. Casting doubt. Don't waste time. She turned and walked away towards the river, as if dissolving into the noise. I took both flash drives and the piece of paper. The ravine whistled softly. "Well," he said, "now we have a plan and an enemy. Great. What's missing? Power?" "And time," I added. The screen on my phone lit up. The AirTag in my wife's bag had moved 3 meters. Then another 2. Then it stopped. "They're taking you to the coffee shop," Yar said. "An hour and a half. Then they'll let you go on a promise, and they'll give you the key. Then we'll catch up." I squeezed the flash drives and blocked them. Only without heroism. Yar stepped on the gas. First the copies. In the basement of an old car service station that no one had repaired for a long time, there was a table, 2 chairs, and a laptop with a camera stuck on it. I inserted a full flash drive. The folders opened without a password. Laconic names, route, names, cams, logs. "Open the route," said Yar. A list of points and time windows. Entry, 2210. Ramp, 2305. Closing, 2320. Exit, 2330. Next to it are the license plates and short codes that I had seen before on customs declarations. I exhaled. "It is," he muttered. "It is not an amateur forgery. Open names. 3 names on the first line. One is what I heard in the chatter in our office. The voice of a secretary, from the upper offices. The second is forever busy in the city council. The third is an account manager of a large logistics company. On the second line is the head of port security and a curator from the Internal Affairs Department. On the third is Ilya, and another one, no photo, just the nickname, Lefty. Lefty is the one who carries the magazine, said Yar. He works with his left hand, always puts it on the left. That's why. Open cams, a map of the cameras at the Pivdeni, red for blind spots. The markings are professional. Someone with access did this. Yar nodded slowly. Okay, he said. We'll play their card, but at a different time. Which one? Before the closing, when not everyone has been switched yet. When you can replace not the cargo, but the script. We need people, I gritted my teeth. 2 of us is not enough. They will. Yar dialed a short number. We need a warm warehouse, 3 men, 1 truck for replacement, 2 cold jackets, a couple of distractions. Payment, later. He hung up. They will be found. And she? I looked at the map. The AirTag moved. Suddenly. The mark ran to the gate. Stop. Movement again. They took him out of the territory, said Yar. Are they taking him home under arrest? Or for a walk? Let's see. A minute later, the dot stopped in the area where our house stood. I exhaled. They let it go. That's good. Yar leaned back. The bad thing is ahead. She entered the apartment without a key. I left the lock unlocked. Her face was even. Her eyes were dry. They took me for coffee, she said. They asked me what I already knew. They gave me a piece of paper. I'm familiar with it. Don't leave the city. They warned me. If I exceeded it, I would be imprisoned. Who warned? The tall one, without emotions. What did they demand? So that I can bring the key and sign the deed. Today, at 7 p.m., in Ilya's office, word for word, no hysterics, no lawyers, That is verification and signature, I said. And we are disruption. What does this mean? Her fingers gripped the edge of the table. This means that you will leave at 7 p.m. sharp. I spoke slowly. You will simply come in, sit down, smile, say, yes. You will take an empty flash drive. You will ask for a time to copy for safety. You will go out into the stairwell. There is a teacher. She will take the empty one. You will come back and say, I changed my mind. You will start crying. Ilya will lose his pace. At this moment, we will take the magazine from yesterday, from his desk. That sounds like theater, she said. This is theater. Yar raised an eyebrow. They need your role. We need a curtain. What if I break? Her voice finally cracked. Don't break down, I said. You'll make it. You've already broken everything. It won't get any worse. She took a breath. She nodded. She went to the shower. The sound of the water washed away everything unnecessary from the kitchen. I looked at the empty cup and thought about the container with the number HMRU 8342163. If he's not a bike, he'll be at ramp number 6 at 11:05 p.m. I have to make it to this hour, with my head, not my emotions. At 6:47 p.m., we were standing in the courtyard of her office center. The windows were floor to ceiling, but the curtains were half open. Ilya likes it, when his ego is visible. Yar checked the radio. I checked the hours on the full flash drive again. Everything was in place. I offered her my hand. She was cold. If something goes wrong, she said, don't be heroic. I already promised, I replied, to myself. Also, she looked me straight in the eye. I told him I wanted to stop it, and that you weren't the kind of person to be scared. He smiled and said, I know. All the better, said Yar. Let him think he knows. She left. Her silhouette dissolved in the corridor. The lamps with their cold light slid across the floor like water. On the second floor, 3 offices were lit. In one was him. In 2 were those who pretended to work until the evening. Yar squeezed the microphone. Teacher, he whispered. Position? On the staircase between the 2nd and 3rd floors, she answered. In my hand, a folder. Outside, audit. Inside, air. Reception. Yar gave me a quick glance. Let's play. On my screen, the time. 7 p.m. Ilya's door creaked. She entered. She sat down. The light was even. She held her back. He, in a gray jacket, without a watch, took it off. He put something flat under his palm, probably a dictaphone. They were talking. I couldn't hear the words, but I saw the gestures. Exactly. Calm down. I understand everything. Then he took out a flash drive. A small, metal one. He put it on the edge of the table. She took a step. She took it. She smiled. She nodded. She said a phrase that you could read on her lips. I'll be there for a minute. He nodded. She went out into the corridor. Yar pressed the button. Let's go. The teacher came out to meet her. The exchange took 2 seconds. The empty one went downstairs, in a folder. She went back into the office. She sat down. She put another one on the table and said something that moved his face. He leaned forward sharply. He searched the table with his eyes. The magazine was in the drawer on the left. We knew this from the hotel rooms. He always puts it on the left. The moment he leaned forward, the teacher walked behind him in the corridor and threw me a thin rectangle. I caught it. The magazine. Wally, Yar hissed. Down. We walked without running. The air outside was thick as soup. I opened the magazine. The pages were stamped, the signatures were the same, left. Yesterday was highlighted with a marker. The number 412 was handwritten in the name of Polyakov. On the left was a pencil note. Copy 2107. On the right was the letter G with a short arrow. At the bottom was a small stamp. Office. Now we don't just have a flash drive, said Yar, but also paper. They like paper. It smells like court. He'll realize the magazine is gone. I looked out the window. In 5 minutes. And what? Yar inhaled as if he were smoking a cigarette. Let him understand. The curtain has already fallen. The phone vibrated. The unknown number was the same. You're taking too much from me. Give it back. She'll go home. If you don't give it back, you'll go. I showed it to Yar. He didn't smile. He has the language of suggestions. We have the language of actions. He started the engine. Next stop is the port. She. I dialed her. Did she leave? The answer. Yes. I'll take a taxi. I'll get there myself. Not a taxi, I said. Ours. Go down to the third entrance. There's a green Audi there. Get in the back. Don't talk. On the way, throw away the 7 from the number that the I wrote to you from. Throw it into the grate by the road. Not in your pocket. Not in the trash can. Okay, she replied shortly. And pause. Thank you. After. I hung up. The port of Pivdeni at night is like a big animal. It breathes steam, creaks with cables, looks with lanterns. We stood in the distance, where there are still secular people, but already working. Our people, 3, arrived without pathos. A gazelle, a truck without logos, a guy in a port security jacket, obviously not one of the official ones. Yar briefly handed out rolls. You are the ramp. He pointed at the thin man with the sharp chin. You are the gate. You are hanging in the coffee booth. Our plan is simple. We change the scenario. Not the cargo. We create a document accident by 11:05 p.m. They love paper. Let the paper eat them. At the entrance, we launch the wrong form and the wrong seal. In the middle, collection of signatures. At the exit, delay. At this time, we find HMRU 834-216-3. And if we don't find it, asked the gatekeeper, then we'll at least block the ramp, Yar said, and disrupt the shipment. But tomorrow is a different story. I'll take the camera eye, said the ramp, pointing to a small pin camera. If they twist us, it'll be beautiful. No heroism, Yar repeated. We are not doing justice. We are looking for a person and cutting the thread. I checked the list of cameras on the flash drive again. The blind spots are near ramp number 6, behind the container with the broken corner. There's a shadow there. That's where we'll stop. You won't go ahead, Yar stopped me. I'll go first. You. Follow me and keep your eyes on HMRU. If you see it, don't run. Come up, check the tags. HMRU 834-216-3. Only then, a sign. A sign? Twice for metal, in short. We heard, the gate responded. And also, Yar looked at his watch. 10:02 p.m. We have 63 minutes. I've had enough, I said, even though I was lying. We passed through the entrance quietly. The gate tore off the seal on the entry form, causing confusion. The kettle was turned on in the security booth. The couple left. The technician came out to breathe. Yar and I slid between the containers, like between stacks of folders. The flashlights cut with cold cones. The metal echoed. Ramp 6 is over there, Yar whispered. Behind the refs. Be careful. I walked as if I were learning to walk again. Heel, toe, shadow, corner, stop, hearing. In the third row, I saw the first HMRU, not the same one. 834-297, then 834-263. My heart stopped for a second. The marks matched. The letters, the same. The numbers, the same. The corners, intact. The seal, in place. "Here," he whispered. "Don't touch it." Yar put his hand on my shoulder. "I'll take a picture of the seal. If tomorrow they say, 'It wasn't like that,' we'll show it." Click. Yes. Now, the paper plan. His people were already carrying small packages of the wrong forms to the issuing booth and to the shift supervisor. Petty bureaucracy is like sand in a gearbox. 5 minutes later, the yellow light on ramp number 6 came on. "Waiting!" 3 minutes later, the red light in the booth came on. "Documents." "It's working," the ramp said into the radio. "They're arguing about who's to blame." "Give me another 7 minutes." Yar kept an eye on his watch. "Until 11:05 p.m. I stood next to the container and listened. My own heart is also a container. Inside it is noise, banging, iron. I imagined the door opening, the cold smell of preservatives and wet cloth hitting me, and how I see either it or emptiness. Both options are hell. From the depths of the ramp came the voice of the boss, the familiar timbre of an evil person who decides everything with a single nod. He was on the list of names. Next to him was the same internal one. Yar clenched his jaw. "It's a shame," he whispered. "Both are here, so the risk is increasing." "To Plan B?" I asked. "If there is noise, yes." "What is Plan B?" "Lights," said Yar, "and a siren. Do you want? I want them to be freelance. When they are freelance, they make mistakes." 23:03. Yar gave the gate signal to launch a sudden check from another entrance. He rolled out a cart with folders. The chief came out with swear words. The internal drove the cart to the third ramp. On ours, the yellow light was flashing like a nerve. 23:05. Yar touched my fingers. "Yours." I stepped into the shadow of the container, felt the cold metal. The seal was intact. My fingers felt a slight backlash, like an old door. If you know the angle, you can listen to see if it is alive. The container was drawing cold air. There was a refrigerator unit inside, but it wasn't working at full capacity. It meant no food or a short way. "Big," Yar whispered. "If he's there, he's wet and cold. Get ready." "What if he's not here?" My voice became dry. "Then he's in the next one, or he's already at sea. Then we work now." I took out a thin magnetic key, which is sometimes put in for accidents. Here, too, they put it in, but not for us. I fixed it. The seal was silent. I put my ear to the metal for a second. Nothing. Just a blank space. I gritted my teeth so as not to hear my own blood in my ears, and knocked softly twice. My sign. From there, silence. "Plan B," said Yar. "No, one more time." I knocked differently. Briefly, then longer. It was a signal my brother and I had come up with as children when we were hiding in the basement so we wouldn't be found with the belt. Silence. Half a second, 2, and then a very faint, almost made-up sound in response. Also, 2 knocks. I didn't exhale, I just stopped breathing. "He's here," I whispered. "Okay." Yar shrugged. "Then Plan B is postponed. First, the noise." He pressed the small key fob. At the end of the row, the triggers clicked. The light above the second ramp blinked and went out. The siren above the gate chirped for a second, and then fell silent. The guard jumped out of the booth, shouting, "Who is it?" The chief turned around. The internal disappeared into the corridor between the racks. Our row was left in the shadows. 3 minutes, said Yar. He won't last any longer. I pried the seal so that it remained whole in appearance, but allowed the sash to slide 2 inches. The metal creaked. The smell of cold rubber and moisture hit me. I stuck my fingers into the crack and whispered softly, "Max." From inside, a faint sound, like bone on metal. Then a breath. Yar slid a flat flashlight in, shielding the light with his hand. Eyes appeared in the crack. They were dark and deep like water, and I recognized them before my brain could formulate it. "Hush," I whispered. "We'll get you." "Seal," Yar hissed. "Time. I'll open it just enough." I removed the lid and opened the door 20 centimeters. Inside was a blanket, plastic, 6 bags of something unknown. Between them was my brother. Bruises, white lips, hands tied with plastic ties. He blinked and smiled, just like when we reached the bottom of the river and stole one of the balls from our neighbors. "A cutter," I said. Yar gave me a small knife. I cut one tie, then another. I pulled him out into the gap. He was on his knees, but he held on. I pressed my fingers against the back of his head. "You will leave on my command," he whispered. Small, quiet. "I can't," he whispered, his lips barely moving. "They're counting." He nodded at the bags. 6 should be 6. "And if there are 5, they will run here," Yar finished. "And that's it." "Okay," I breathed. "Plan B." "Lights and siren," Yar nodded. "And we take it out like a 5th bag, on a cart, under a blanket, in the teapot booth. We change into uniforms. At the exit, change. The documents are with us. If they stop, the internal one has already left. The chief is busy swearing. We can slip through. And the seal? The guard will think stress and then later. That's how they live." I looked at my brother again. "Are you breathing?" "Yes," he smiled faintly. "Now, yes. Hold on." In one motion, I threw the blanket over the nearest sack, pushed my brother into the space between the 2 bags, and covered him. There were 3 rows of sacks on the cart, one on top. We rolled the cart out as if we were simply rearranging the load for convenience. Yar walked in front, I walked behind, holding the blanket by the edge so that it wouldn't slip. The siren at the other end blared again. The chief turned his head. The guard cursed into his radio. Our row was like a river at night, dark and calm. "Ramp," Yar hissed. "Open the black exit." "Opened it," replied the ramp. 2 minutes, that's all." We rolled the cart to the small door at the end. It was propped up with a pallet, so it wouldn't slam. Good custom. On the other side of the gate, there was already a shadow. We pushed the cart into a narrow corridor. It was darker there than in the container. I stopped. I took off the blanket. My brother opened his eyes wider. I took out a dark security jacket from my bag and pulled it on. A cap on his head. An empty folder in his hands. "You are a piece of paper," I said. "You walk calmly. You don't see anyone. If you shout, you fall. They will pick you up as one of their own." "Yes," he whispered. Yar opened the last door. Towards us was the night and the distant voice of the boss, who had finally remembered all the words he knew. We stepped onto the concrete. "That's right," said Yar. 3 buildings, and into the Gazelle." We walked as if we weren't walking. Not hiding, but not showing off either. A guard ran past us with a mug of coffee. He spilled half of it. A forklift hummed somewhere. Somewhere metal creaked. We had almost reached the dark alley between the warehouse and the administration building when we heard from behind, "Stop." He turned around. "Internal." The same one from the booth. He was standing 15 meters away. under the lamp. His eyes were like a scanner. "Documents," he said. "Exactly," without haste. Yar took a step forward, taking something out of his pocket. Me too. "We have a breakdown," said Yar. "The paper's with the admin. We are in the booth." "You have the paper," he repeated calmly. "Documents." For a second I saw a small key ring in his left hand, the same one we used to turn off the lights. He knew our tricks, which means our seconds are running out. "Plan B," said Yar, but this time it wasn't about the siren. He threw a thin metal puck at the insider. It fell a meter away, clinked. He instinctively looked down. I took a step, grabbed my brother by the elbow, and pushed him into the darkness of the alley. The gate had already received a signal. The gazelle rumbled. The insider raised his head and touched the radio. "Stop," he shouted. 4 steps. 3 more. The ravine turned its body, closing in on us. Ahead is the shadow of the gazelle. The doors are open. "Jump," I whispered to my brother. He jumped. I followed him. Yar was the last. The doors slammed shut. The gazelle sped away. The internal raised his hand with the key fob. Somewhere a siren blared. Somewhere a searchlight flashed. We broke out onto the road, where the night was still night, not a war of lanterns. "Next, don't take your hands off the wheel," the gatekeeper said, pressing the pedal. "The highway is 300 meters away. If we survive, we'll disappear between the tanks." "We'll live to see you," I said, allowing myself to smile for the first time that evening. "We have something they don't have." "What?" his brother asked hoarsely. "We are alive. On the outskirts, we changed cars twice. The gazelle changed into a black Sprinter. The Sprinter changed into an old Opel. On the 3rd lap, I finally allowed myself to open my mouth and ask the question that had been burning in me since the moment I saw his eyes in the slit. "Who sent you there?" "I myself," he answered, looking out the empty window. "Or rather, my stupidity. I was working part-time at the unloading. They said, 'Humanitarian, we need to hurry.' I saw that the boxes were not the same. I took a picture. They saw that I had taken a picture. Then, darkness, plastic, cold. I woke up, in a dark box. I counted. A day, plus a little more. Then, your knocks. Why didn't you scream earlier?" I shouted, twice, and it's as noisy as an engine room. You wouldn't have heard it either. "They led you to me?" Yar glanced from under his brow. "I don't know." The brother rubbed his wrists. But one of them said, "Brother, with those who love paper." Then I realized that they knew more than I thought. "They know everything until it's freelance," Yar said. "You're their freelance." "And her?" My brother looked at me. "At home," I answered. "Under the paper. And you went to the port anyway. Because otherwise, tomorrow, you'll be at sea." He nodded. Then he smiled slowly. "Thank you," he said. "After," I repeated. At 1 o'clock in the morning, we were in the basement of a car service. My brother dozed off on an old sofa, covered with a jacket. I sat across from Yar with a full flash drive and a magazine. The phone blinked. The unknown number came to life again. "You took what wasn't yours. You have 2 hours to return it. Otherwise, it will be taken away tomorrow. Forever." And I showed it to Yar. He finally smiled fully. "That's right," he said. "They're nervous." "Why tomorrow?" I touched the screen. "Because today you ruined the script. Tomorrow they'll write a new one. In the new one, you either disappeared or agreed. They don't like the 3rd one. Then we'll write ours. I put the flash drive in the metal box and cracked theirs again. What are you planning? Morning. Press. Paper. And an empty key on Ilya's desk. But not from us, but from the teacher. And also to throw the map of the southern cameras into the network. Without names, just the map. Let them run. It will make noise. Yar nodded. And noise is our air. And she? I looked at my watch. Era 113. She will be taken away tomorrow. If you go alone, yes. If you go with paper and a light, no. They don't like light. I am not a journalist. You are a person who has a story, fragments, and paper. That's enough to make someone's hand tremble. And if the hand doesn't tremble, then Plan B. What's Plan B? I looked up. Very simple. Yar stood up. At night, we take my brother out of town. In the morning, you go to the person who is on the front row list, and you put the magazine and the flash drive in front of him. And you say one phrase, I know. If he chooses you don't know, you take out the second set and say, those near the port also know. He will choose you know. Then, either he gives feedback down, and they let her go. Or she runs away. If she runs away, you go to the press. If she doesn't run away, you pick her up from work in the evening. And we close this thread. And with the G47? G47 won't go anywhere today. We've torn up the documentation. Tomorrow, new forms. Tomorrow, a different number. We have a handicap night. They'll tighten the noose tonight, I said. Yes, and we'll put our fingers in. Yar clenched his fists. And we won't let it drag on. I looked at my brother. He was sleeping like he had been swimming for a long time. Motionless, but not deeply. A light rain had begun outside. The asphalt outside the window seemed to be breathing. The phone blinked again. Another number. A short, hello. No signature. A minute later, another. Tomorrow at 10 quar. Labyrinth Cafe. Bring the paper. L. Left, said Yar. He wanted to play on his own. Labyrinth, I repeated. Symbolism is not their strong point. They don't care about metaphors. They like corridors where you can always disappear. The labyrinth is convenient. 2 entrances, a back door to the yard. The camera is pointed at yourself. Shall we go? I stood up. We will go, answered Yar, but not with the full one, and not with the magazine. We will bring copies. The full ones are under lock and key. Okay. I sat down, and for the first time in a day, I allowed myself to close my eyes. Not for long. Just long enough to see the kitchen, 2 cups, a silk scarf, and the movement of hands in the hallway. The thing that started it all. The thing that wouldn't end. The morning was flat, like a sheet of paper before signing. My brother slept in the basement of the car service. Yar checked the tails. I drank cheap coffee from a plastic cup and looked through copies. A map of the cameras, the G47 route, magazine clippings, without stamps, only scans, a list of names in 3 lines. The originals were in a metal box under the floor. Yar had the key. 9:20, he said, appearing in the doorway. Let's go. The labyrinth loves those who are late. We'll be there early. The coffee shop was in the old quarter, 2 doors, to the street and to the courtyard. The camera was in the corner under the visor. Inside was a mirror that closed the dead zone opposite the bar. We sat down so that we could see both entrances and our reflections. The barista pretended that we were just morning people. The left arrived without any drama. He was of medium height, wearing a dark jacket, and had a file in his left hand. He sat down so that he could see us and the entrance to the yard in the mirror. Paper, he said immediately. His voice was colorless. and silence. "You will bring us something in return," Yar replied. "Or go." I brought it. Left. Put a photo on the table. The corridor of Viola, Ilya, yesterday's hour, next to it. A short woman with blonde hair. She's not playing with you, and not with him. She's playing with those who are above, both of them. You are a step for her. This is not news to us, I said evenly. We don't need photos. We need access. To the camera above ramp number 6. And lists of passes for the last 3 days. Then we'll leave quietly. Or, he raised an eyebrow, or we'll do it loudly. Now. I slipped a napkin with a pen. Map of cameras of Yuzhnoye and 3 red crosses in the blind zones. This will go on the air. Without names, but right. The port will scream. Your roof, too. He didn't blink. Do you think they'll be hurt? I know they don't like light. They love profit, he smiled with a slight nervous movement. And the light gets in the way. Therefore either access or noise. For 5 seconds, he counted something in his head, like a cashier, before cashing in. Okay, he said. Give me copies, and I'll give you access for 20 minutes. Passes at my request. But there's one condition. You remove the teacher from your board. She's my channel. She's our safety net, Yar snapped. We don't touch her at all. Otherwise, we'll play without you. He didn't like it. He looked at me. You're one of the smart ones, he said quietly. Don't trust those who speak slowly and look you in the eye. They cut more carefully. I believe in arithmetic, he replied. Access and passes versus copies. That's it. No more. He nodded to the barista, who imperceptibly pressed something under the counter. I saw in the mirror how a second door opened in the courtyard. A slender shadow walked past the garbage cans and stood behind the column. Back up. 20 minutes, repeated Left. No more. Where? Yar asked. Here. He slid in a key card with an erased stripe and S6 Alt written in marker. Backup video loop for ramp 6. 3 clicks, and you're watching what I'm watching. There will be no logs. I'll close it. Mrs. I kept my eyes on him. In the file, in 2 hours. Today. To the email that's on the flash drive. Then, by yourself. Pause. Now, copies. I slid the envelope in. It contained scans, no metadata, no stamps. Enough to put on someone's desk and make them turn pale. Not enough to go to court. His fingers touched the paper. He didn't look. He just put it under his jacket. You have a tail, I said. You have 2, he answered and nodded at the window. Viola yesterday was no accident. They took the magazine away, it will hurt, and they will want ointment. We have the ointment, Yar stood up. We are not pharmacists. We are patients who were almost sent to the morgue. The Left didn't say goodbye. He simply disappeared through the door into the yard. We also left, through the facade. The rain turned the sidewalk into a film. Check it out, Yar said as we got into the car. I connected S6 Alt to our laptop. The video window opened without passwords. A black and white picture of ramp number 6, a clock in the corner, and below it, a camera line with an old font. People are visible near our row. New faces, nervous movements. Someone was pointing at the seal of the container, HMRU 8342163. Someone was recording. The boss was nervous. The internal one was absent, or out of the frame. 3 in suits, not from the port. The commission, said Yar. They're looking for extremists. And get out of there, I added. The G47 won't leave today. Okay, that gives us a day. The phone beeped. Ilya's number, short, dry, without emotion. 7:00 p.m., office. Bring the key. Your husband is not a hero, I replied. I'll bring it. Myself, and turned off the screen. Why? Yar stopped looking. So that he thinks the script is still going on. He always thinks. It's just that sometimes it's wrong. By lunchtime, we had taken my brother to a safe place outside the city, given him a phone with one button and an address that wasn't in the GPS. I said, "Sit down." He said, "I'm sitting down." The friendly people brought an old press card and the number of a streamer journalist who liked hot ports more than headlines about cats. At 4:30 p.m., he will go on the air, said Yar. He will give a map of the cameras, without you, tell about the blind zones and about questions for the port security. He will not name names. He will just cover her with a blanket. If the commission wants to hide, there will be nowhere. In the evening, they will not be able to take her away, quietly. And she? At 7 p.m., Ilya's office, the same role. Bring the key, ask for a copy, start crying. But now we have another need, to put an ear in his office, at least for an hour. A recorder? No, they'll find him. Yar took out a small needle with a spring. Needle? It sticks under the edge of the table into a wooden base. Battery? 2 hours. Microphone? A narrow cone. When he talks to the roof, we'll hear it live. What if he doesn't talk? Then we'll just take her and go to the press ourselves. Pause. But better yet, let's hear it. At 4:30 p.m., a journalist in a fleece jacket was waving his arms cheerfully on a laptop screen against a backdrop of containers. Friends, letter from the port. Look what we have. A map of cameras, blind spots in places where, excuse me, there shouldn't be any blindness. Who drew them? Why do security guards close their eyes where they should be wide open? And attention, yesterday's strange glitch at 11:03 p.m. Where did it come from? Who benefits? I'm asking these questions officially. There was an explosion in the comments. The port's official account froze with a press release. We are conducting an internal audit. The city council account put a heart and remained silent. In Yar's chat, it was short. The commission is nervous. The internal one has disappeared. He's looking for us, said Yar, and we're louder. 5:50 p.m. I looked at my watch. Time. The corridor of Ilya's office smelled of paint and clean glass. In the reception area was a secretary with empty eyes. She nodded at the door. They're waiting. I stayed at the end of the corridor, where the camera barely reached. Yar was in the car, the walkie-talkie in my pocket. Needle was in my palm. She entered the office at exactly 7 p.m. She smiled, calmly. She sat on the edge of the chair, as if on someone else's sofa. I saw a corner of her face, Ilya's, all of it. The key, he said. She put an empty flash drive on the table, the same one the teacher had given her for exchange. Ilya didn't touch it. He called. He listened in silence for 15 seconds. He bowed his head. He hung up. Okay, he said. Now it's the act. He opened the drawer on the left. At that moment I slipped, as if I had accidentally moved along the wall, and touched my finger to the base of the bed near the left edge. The needle went in like butter. The spring clicked without a sound. I moved half a step away. In my ear, the tiny earpiece came to life. Sign this and leave, said Ilya. It's your evening. I want to make a copy, she replied, for safety's sake. There's no need to copy anything. I'm nervous. That's fine. Sign it, and that's it. I need 5 minutes. 2. She reached for her bag. Yar whispered into the radio. Now. The teacher climbed the stairs. I stood there, a shadow. The secretary stared into her monitor as if into an evening candle. "I'll be there for a minute," she said, and left. Ilya glanced at the camera in the corner, then at the flash drive, then at the door. He took out his phone. He dialed. A new timbre came to life in the earpiece, low, slow, without an accent. "Yes. Here, I brought it. Yes, the key. The magazine is missing. No, it's not mine. I think it's his. Yes, I understand. Okay." Pause. "She'll come back and sign it." "Who's on the wire?" Yar whispered. "The first row," I answered. "The timbre is the same." He put it down. She came in, sat down, picked up the pen. Her hand trembled, just enough to make it seem true. 2 lines. Her full name, date, signature. Ilya continued to stare, like a waiter on a tip. She put the pen down, took a breath, and, as we had agreed, suddenly said, "I changed my mind." "What?" He raised his eyebrows. "I won't sign it. Take it back." "You already signed." "I'll take my copy." "Your copy does not exist." Then my hysteria, she stood up. "And call the police." "Sit down," he said evenly. "No one's calling anywhere." "Then call the person you just spoke to." He smiled. "You don't understand who you're talking to." "I understand," she said quietly, "with a person who is afraid of paper." He lost his pace by exactly half a second. That was enough. The teacher slid past the secretary and opened the second drawer. Her movement was as precise as a direction in a class journal. She took out a thin envelope. She tucked it under the folder in her hand. She left. The secretary looked up and down again. We breathed in time. "Sit down," Ilya repeated, "and sign an additional form." He took out a second form. "On non-disclosure. I will not sign." "Then you will come with me." "Where?" "Where they teach quickly." "The port?" she said, smiling faintly. "It's noisy there today." "Noise is not eternal." "We will add." He glanced at the flash drive, picked it up with 2 fingers as if it were something dirty. "Take it and go." I asked for a copy. I said go. "Then I'll see you after the news," she said, got up, and walked to the door. "Stop," he said, without raising his voice. "If you go out, you won't be able to leave the house tomorrow." "I'll go out today," she replied and walked on. I stepped back into the shadows. The teacher was already on the stairs. Our eyes met for a moment. She barely nodded. An envelope in her hand. Yar said into the earpiece, "Exit to the yard. March." We left in 3 directions. She went through the facade, the teacher went into the yard, and I followed half a minute later. A car roared in the yard for a second, and then it was quiet. The teacher put a thin sheet of paper in my palm, a copy of the act with a watermarked seal and another form. Non-disclosure, without a signature. "This will hurt," she said. "Who?" I asked. "Everyone. The correct answer is everyone." "Mrs.?" Yar reminded him into the speaker. "In 40 minutes, to that post office." The teacher nodded at my pocket. "But know this. Left will play again today. He doesn't like to lose." "Does he have some other entrance?" "He has a habit. He returns to the scene of the crime." Pause. "And also, in the corridor of the port in the second warehouse, a camera with a microphone, a separate channel. 2 people know about him. One is first on the list. The second is now looking at his phone and thinking about running away. If you go to the first at 10:30 tomorrow, he will accept you, because he is afraid that you are already with the second." The first one's last name? Quietly. On a flash drive. She dissolved into the arch like smoke. At 2012, we received an email. pass log 3 days to CSV and cam auth temp.key. In the first one, a table, date, time ID, last name, zone. I ran my eyes through it. The internal one came in and out not according to the schedule, Ilya. Twice at night, someone from the front row, after midnight. Teacher, nowhere. In the second, a key for temporary access to the audio channel of the second row camera. Turn it on, said Yar. The noise of the warehouse, the rumble of carts, distant voices, and a clear dialogue in a small office with an open window. Will they find the magazine? They will find it, but it's too late. And the key? She brought it. Are you sure? Did you see it? Will he come to me tomorrow? He will come. Good. I like it when they come themselves. And if he doesn't come, then they will go to the press, and I will have to choose. Short laugh. I have already chosen. First row, Yar whispered. He confirmed it himself. And there is no inner here, I added. It is somewhere in between. Or already below us. Yar looked into the darkness of the window. And he's looking for where it's thin. The phone vibrated. New number. Congratulations on saving your brother. Well played. Tomorrow, at 10:30. You will be alone. Bring a magazine, or they will come to yours. P. The first one, said Yar. He came out himself. I'll go, I replied. You won't go alone. He smiled. There's another person next to you. Not me. Another. They don't know her. Who? The one that says, sit. He nodded into the darkness. She. Teacher. Today she is our lamp, too bright to be extinguished quietly. I looked at my watch. 9:01 p.m. The port on the screen breathed a rusty air. Another fragment of conversation reached us from the warehouse. And the wife? Don't touch her. Let her eat herself. She's not alone. They're all alone. I turned off the sound. I looked at the copy of the act, at the magazine in the metal box, at the camera map, at the message from Persho. Tomorrow, said Yar, we will either finish the thread or tie a knot. And today? Today, let's sleep. What if they come at night? Then they'll have a problem. He smiled. We have a plan. I didn't smile. I went out into the yard and inhaled the cold rain. Somewhere in the darkness, the city spoke to the port in the language of sirens and trucks. Somewhere in the apartment, she sat on the edge of the bed and looked at the phone, which no longer had that number. Somewhere in my brother's basement, a blanket smelled of salvation and rubber. And between these somewheres, us. The phone beeped for the last time that evening. Unknown, briefly. You think you're leading the game. In fact, you're being led. And I deleted the message without even opening it. And for the first time in 2 days, I felt not the clicking of an old mechanism in my chest, but a silence in which you can hear the growing decision. At 10:08, I was standing in front of the labyrinth and counting the steps from the front door to the courtyard arch. Yar was sitting in the car across the street. The teacher was in the hairdresser's across the street, holding a fashion magazine as if she were actually reading it. Copies in her pocket. Originals in a metal box under Yar's seat. A thin earpiece in her ear. He came without security, in a dark coat and a white shirt, which in itself was a statement. The front row likes to show that they have nothing to hide. First, his face is soft. His voice is even. People with such voices cut neatly. The left said yesterday. Coffee? He asked when we sat down. Just time, I replied. I don't have enough of it. You don't have enough either. A magazine, he said, as if asking for salt. You will receive copies. He put the envelope. Before that, 3 things. Today at 13 hours, you call the internal and give the order not to touch my wife. Today at 17 hours, you sign a service request to inspect ramp number 6 in connection with yesterday's failure, without mentioning us. Today at 20 hours, Ilya receives a summons for interrogation and loses access to port facilities. No heroics, paper against paper. You don't understand how it works, he smiled. I don't give orders. I agree. Then agree. And if I say no, then in 2 hours the camera feed will not go to the stream, but to the national news, with a magazine and a voice from your audio channel on the second syllable. I won't name names, but it's enough for yours to name mine. You're bluffing. No. He showed me the phone. There, delayed sending to several addresses, is set up. Dead switch. The timer is already running out. Cancellation. After your call to the internal, when I hear the phrase coffee is canceled, I will cancel the delayed sending. He looked straight for the first time, like a man weighing iron instead of coffee. Do you want me to hand over mine? I want you to stop the noose where you pulled it. Your wife, he began, and stopped. Her role is secondary. Then stop pretending to be the first. He was silent for a few seconds. Then he took out his phone and dialed a contact with one finger. I heard beeps in my earpiece. The voice of the internal person was dry, like an instruction. Yes, we're canceling coffee, said first. We're letting everyone go. We're only working with paper. Yes, write down. Ramp 6, yesterday's failure, service, today at 5 p.m. Ilya, suspended until completion. Yes. Click. Silence. Are you satisfied? He asked. Partially. I slipped an envelope with copies. The originals are mine on the lawyer's desk. If someone makes a mistake today, the investigator you won't call will see them tomorrow. You're studying well, he said quietly. Your brother is the price for a lesson? My brother is the reason I still speak calmly. He put the envelope in his inside pocket. You want me to roll back just enough for you to feel victorious, he said slowly. I'll do it, not because you forced me, but because there's market logic to everything. Today, noise is more expensive than cargo. Tomorrow, we'll see. Today is noise, I confirmed. Tomorrow is names. I don't advise it, he said evenly. Names are always war. You've already started it. He stood up. At 1 p.m. you will receive a confirmation from internal. At 5 p.m. there will be an incoming call from my office. At 8 p.m. Ilya will go home, without a pass. You too. And we will forget about each other. Agreed? We will remember, I replied. You have a beautiful voice, he said, in parting, for reading minutes in court. Don't ruin it by shouting. He walked through the yard, where the teacher was already closing the fashion magazine. I went out through the facade. Yar didn't smile, he just started the engine. Was it? He asked. It was. Orally. We write paper. At 1:02 p.m. she received an SMS. Coffee is canceled. We are working only with documents. VB. At 1:05 p.m. she wrote, I got a call. They told me to turn off my phone for a day and stay in my apartment. No visitors. I am at home. I am breathing. Breathe, he wrote back. I'll come later. At 4:50 p.m., the streamer went live again from the port gate. The official voice behind the scenes trembled emotionlessly. We are conducting an official inspection. The public can rest assured. The comments contained everything needed for pressure. At 7:38 p.m., Yar received from a friend in HR, Ilya is suspended for the duration of the inspection. Pass has been taken away. Phone has been disconnected. They cut him off. Yar said. He's in pain. And when it hurts, people do stupid things. He's not stupid, I objected. He's smart. And smart people do stupid things more precisely. At 9:11 p.m., the teacher dropped the audio from the second syllable. Same voices, new conversation. He brought copies. He has the original. Where? From the lawyer. We'll take the wife. He'll take the original. Coffee has been canceled. There are other ways. Can't you hear? Paper. Then we'll work on paper. Tomorrow morning? On it. Who? Left. I leaned back in my chair. Tomorrow morning the left will come for us, I said. He's already leaving, Yar answered quietly and showed the screen. The AirTag dot on the keys was buzzing near our house. We warned him, but he returned to the scene of the crime, as the teacher said. Plan, I asked. Simple. Yar spread out 3 objects on the table, the keys to the entrance, an empty flash drive, a copy of the deed. We'll put a mirror up for him. He'll only see himself. At 8:02, I was standing in the entrance, where it smelled of paint and other people's breakfasts. Left was supposed to come without the 8th bell. Such people do not go according to the schedule, but to the rhythm. Yar sat in the elevator with the doors open so that it would not leave. Teacher, in the yard near the garbage cans, like an ordinary woman with a package. He entered quietly, with his elbow touching the wall. His left hand was in his pocket. His right was empty. His gaze went straight to the camera under the ceiling, then to the dead zone near the shield. A magazine, he said, without greeting. At the lawyer's, I answered. Here is a copy of the act in a flash drive with the key. I put it on the windowsill. Take it if you are ready to sign here, right now. The key with 0 logs from you. The act with your signature as a witness. Then you are the one who helped. This is your only way out. You're funny, he smiled with his eyes. I don't sign. Then choose, said Yar from the elevator, not showing his face. Either you are the one who helped, or the one who was seen by the camera. The second camera, the one you forgot about. Yesterday you returned to the courtyard of Viola at 1926. The courtyard camera with a microphone. We see it. He didn't flinch, but the pulse in his neck gave a thud. You're bluffing, he said. No, the teacher answered from the entrance door, taking half a step. Not this time. She put the phone on the railing on the screen, a still frame of the Viola yard. He is in profile without a cap. His left hand puts the envelope on the windowsill. The sound. The printing will go on at night. Ramp 6. I have the paper. For a moment he was truly scared. It was honest. You are not my enemy, he said quietly. I am yours too. I have something that will save each of you. Each one. He took a small flash drive from his left pocket and placed it next to him. Here is the internal with the first. Their conversations over the past 3 weeks. Dates, amounts, names. I can burn if they burn, but I want to live. Is that why you came back here this morning? I asked. On instinct. Because instinct says, you need to talk to those who are ready to listen. And sign too. He slowly slid the flash drive towards me. You take it, and you don't see me today, he said. I'm disappearing. And what are we doing with you tomorrow? Asked Yar. When will the others come for us? Tomorrow is another market. Today is this one. I am making you heir. You are making me. Say it out loud, said the teacher. On camera. What exactly are you giving us? I'll give you the audio log from the second syllable. He spoke evenly and looked into the lens. And the keys to the S6 Alt archive for 2 years. No logs. I'm left. I'm one of those. Enough, Yar whispered. Let's go. Wait, I raised my palm in the air. One more thing. I looked at the left directly. At Tenguiyao, you contact Ilya and tell him that he is not on paper. He is on video. That within your limits, save yourself. Do not save the roof. If he runs, I will not care. If he surrenders, neither will I. But you will tell. I'll tell you. And the last thing. If they touch it with even a finger today, tomorrow my timer will go to 0. I put the left flash drive in my pocket. With or without the stone in your hand? He nodded. He went downstairs. He didn't turn around. The teacher silently walked out into the yard. Yar let the elevator go. It smelled of wet tiles and cooked meat from other people's kitchens. He won't betray us today, said Yar. Tomorrow is different. I've had enough for today. At 11:12, we already had access to 2 years of the S6 Alt archive and a clean audio log from the second warehouse. At 12:03, a message from an unknown person. Thank you for not being a hero. I. At 13 Mile, a short message from the internal. Don't touch the wife. At 17:05, an incoming message. Service check of ramp number 6 initiated. At 20:21, Ilya suspended. At 21:10, the news feed showed footage of a night port where 2 people in suits with briefcases stood in the rain and said nothing. I came home out of habit. I opened the door quietly. She was sitting at the table. Opposite her was an empty cup. Under the chair was nothing. There was no silk in the house. Alive? She asked. Yes, he replied. And he too. I heard. Coffee was canceled. Temporarily. She nodded. We looked at each other like people after surgery. Being alive is a victory. But the scar is also the truth. There's nothing I can say that will change that, she said. Forgiveness is not a demand. It's like air. It's either there or it's not there. There's not much of it today, I replied. But we're not at sea. Are you going? She asked quietly. Today? No. Tomorrow? I don't know. I put the keys and the ring on the table. I'm not punishing. I'm stopping the movement. So as not to crush us both. She clenched her fingers on the edge of the table. I'll wait as long as I have to, she said. And if you don't come back, I'll still thank you for getting me out of where I put myself. I wasn't the one who pulled me out either. I remembered my brother's eyes in the crack of the container. And not alone. Teacher? She smiled without laughing. She too. Yar too. And even Livier. Do you trust them now? No, I trust arithmetic. Today they played so well that we are alive. We were silent. The rain pattered its fingers on the windowsill. The phone vibrated. Yar. The first one is on pause. The internal one is quiet. The port is under review. The left one is gone. The teacher has left. My brother is sleeping. You? I typed. I came home. Silence. Breathe, he replied. I breathed in. For the first time in days, there was no clicking in my chest. A week later, the commission officially reported on detected accounting violations. No who, only what and when. Ilya wrote the statement himself. Domestic was transferred. First, does not comment. The port is working. The G47 line has been reformatted. The HMRU 8342163 container officially did not pass. If it didn't pass, it means it wasn't there. And we were there. My brother touched the shore, as he should have done, carefully. He still wakes up at night and asks for the door to be opened. I sit next to him and say, "It's open." It's true. Some doors are now open. The teacher left me a short note. Watch your head. No signature. She knows how to say sit so that they sit down. And I sat down to write a statement to the press. Not with a list of names, with a map of events. The paper is their love and our weapon. I sent it. Let it lie. Left did not write. This means only one thing: he is alive. She and I live in the same 2-room apartment. The door between us is open. Sometimes it's closed. She doesn't ask when, I don't ask why. We have the words today and after. We use them. And if ever there are 2 cups on the table again, I want one of them to be mine. Yar says that this is not the end, but a break. I know. There is no end in a relationship. There is a final fact, after which you either remain silent or speak. I say, we chose air. She nods. And this time it's true too.